So welcome. Appreciate everybody joining us for Workshop Wednesday this month. My name is Kathy Wellik, and I'm going to be assisting you today. And we're going to talk about reports you should be using. So reports are important in fleet management, and everybody's going to use them a little bit differently, and that's okay. Just before we begin, I have just a few reminders. Workshop Wednesday is Agile's monthly FleetCommander knowledge series, and the webinars are scheduled from 2 to 3 Eastern Time every third Wednesday of the month. Your feedback is needed to identify topics and so forth, so please, when we get to the end of the presentation today, feel free to go ahead and scan the QR code and let us know how we're doing and what topics you would like to see in the future. This webinar is being recorded, just to let you know, and will be on our YouTube channel and sent to you in a couple days. We do encourage you to chat with us. As you know, this is as interactive as you want it to be. Again, some people have wanted to be able to actually be pushing their buttons and so forth on their computers while we're going through this. I highly encourage you to do that. If you have your FleetCommander site up, go ahead and please run through some of these reports with us. That is the best way that you're going to learn them. I do want to remind you, however, though, that everybody's data is different. So if you have specific questions on the information you're getting back, you might just want to go ahead and put that in the chat, and you can reach out to me later and we can talk about that. But if it's something that is for the good of the whole group, please go ahead, click to show the conversation and go ahead and ask your question. And please, just a reminder to tell us your first name and where you're from, because it doesn't give me all of that information when you're signing in. So that would be terrific. Again, we're here to help you, so ask those questions. So today's agenda, reports you should be using part 3. So we've had a couple of these other sessions with reports, and we'll go in depth, a little bit more in depth about what we're going to talk about today. But we're going to, highlight the importance of reports, getting to actionable data, moving from your raw data into actionable insights. We're going to go over the reports that we're going to talk about today. Then we're going to talk about maintaining your data integrity and what we learned today and some tools for your toolbox. So as we start out, let's really focus on the importance of reports. So reports provide data for key performance indicators for your fleet. With that, you can identify trends, you can tell your fleet story, you can assist in buying decisions, and then you also, as you're doing your reports, need to know your audience, right? So there's well over 60 reports in Agile that you can use, but with that, depending on who your audience is going to depend on how you tell your story with these reports and the data that you get. So just make sure on the reports too, what I like to always make sure is that I run the reports consistently the same way every month. If there's key performance indicators that I was looking for and watching in my fleet, I made sure that I ran them the same way every month, so you're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So getting to actionable data, the core versus module reports. So in FleetCommander, those core reports are designed to provide fleet-wide data about vehicles, users, statistics, and utilization. So they provide that actionable data from the fleet operation, and these are your go-to reports to manage your fleet day to day. Then there's those module reports that we have, and these are additional reports based on project scope and modules configured. So for example, some of you have maintenance, some do not. So some of you will have module reports based on maintenance or risk management, and some of you will not if you don't have those particular modules. So they provide actionable insights into maintenance, fuel, and risk, some of those module ones, and they're designed to allow update to supporting data tables and operational changes. So how do we move from raw data to actionable insights? We use the FleetCommander engine, right? So data managed in FleetCommander allows your information to be located in a centralized source, consistently recorded, readily accessible, and immediately usable at any time you want to run a report. And that consistently managed data allows you to gain insights into your operation and opportunities. So we want you to understand your fleet cost and performance, make informed decisions using KPIs, achieve your highest utilization and lowest cost, and achieve your best-in-class performance. So as a lot of you may know, last month we added a new section, basically top tips from the FC support team. So I reached out to the support team to see what kind of calls they're getting this month and to see what it is that we can do to provide some additional answers for you for those common calls. So just to let you know, some of the common calls this last month have been regarding reports, the motor pool utilization report versus the motor pool utilization by asset type report. So just to do a quick little breakdown of the difference in these two reports is the motor pool utilization report determines the utilization on a motor pool based on hours. So as you can see, you can choose how many hours a day. So for example, a Navy fleet, those vehicles might be able to be checked out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you'd want to keep it on 24 hours. If you have a fleet that's only an 8 to 5 operation, you might want to change that to 8 hours because that is how long your fleet's open, or 9 hours. You also can exclude weekends and holidays. So basically this motor pool utilization is talking to you in terms of your utilization based on hours. The motor pool utilization by asset type is a percentage of vehicles used. So that's why when you run the reports, you're going to get a couple different answers, right? So one is based on actual hours and one is based on percentage. The next one that they said they have had multiple calls on is the maintenance due summary report. So the maintenance due summary report does identify tasks that are due or near due at the time you're running the report. So at the time the report is generated. So even if you set a filter for the month of May and find vehicles with next perform dates in the month, they will not appear in the report if they're not showing as due or near due at that precise moment in time. So if it's due at the very end of the month and you're running the report at the beginning of the month, it's not going to show because it's not due or near due. So that's just an explanation on that one. So now let's go ahead and get started into the reports that we're going to go through today. So when we started the workshop Wednesdays and we're doing the core reports, the previous report sessions highlighted the following different reports. So session 1, if you're going back and looking in the YouTube videos, session 1 on reports is going to focus on those highlighted reports on this page. So the statistics summary report, the motor pool by asset type, the aging by miles, the aging by time, the user detail extra, the invalid driver, the usage by department, the missing mileage, the hoarding report, the asset data dump, and the asset mileage. So if you want to learn more about those specific ones that are highlighted, you would look in the YouTube section for the Core Reports Part 1 video. Then the second part we did, Part 2, included the highlights in green. So vehicle usage, motor pool utilization, utilization by miles, vehicle demand, system report, reservation summary, completed reservations, late return, cancellations, and vehicle availability. So if you have specific questions on those reports, again, you can find that training on the YouTube video with the Core Reports Part 2, or reach out to myself or Joe, or reach out to FC Support, and we can help you with those reports. So the reports that are left are the reports that we're going to go over today. So we're going to talk about the audit log report, the user summary, the user details, the department summary, the user system activity, the reservation details extra, asset summary, asset details, asset in and out, tag vehicle exception, and maintenance and fuel cost. One thing I would also love for you to do while we're going through these reports is, if you use these reports for any specific reason, or if you use them on a consistent basis, I would love for you to drop that into the chat. It's always good for other fleet managers to know how their peers are using those reports. So if you have a special reason, or you can also put how often you might check these reports, I would love for you to put it in the chat so you can help your peers learn more about how often they should use it. Because again, every fleet is a little bit different. So we're going to go into these reports individually now. So we're going to start with the audit log report. So how I've set this up today is I've set up what this report provides, and then you will see the input screens and the output screens. So hopefully it gives you a good, clear guidance as to what you should do with this report and what this report gives you. So the audit log report tracks changes made by fleet staff during a certain period of time, and changes can be displayed for changes to the following: if they made changes to users, if they made changes to an asset, if they made changes to a reservation. You can go back to that audit log, because Agile FleetCommander keeps track of audit log for everything that happens, and you can go back in and see who changed that asset last or at that certain time. So again, you can see what changes are made by the following users, assets, or to the reservations. So to get to that report, this is the input screen that it looks like, and this is always in the bottom left-hand corner, the directions as to where you need to go into the system to find that report. So if you have your computer pulled up, you can follow right along by clicking Reports, Statistics, and Auto Log Report. So when you go ahead and do your input, you're going to want to put whatever date range that you want. If there's a certain user that you're looking for, you can certainly pull that up. Otherwise, you can do all users. You can choose what actions, and you can choose what log type. If you want just a user log, an asset log, so changes to the assets or changes to the reservation. Then you can go ahead and you can have the output into either HTML or Excel. I personally like Excel. Some people like HTML, but I personally would generally practice on doing Excel. And then you would click Generate Report. After you do that, this is what your output is going to look like. So you have your audit log ID, you have what happened. So they updated a specific user in the user table. This tells who did it and at what date and time, and who it was logged by. So who the affected user was. So Alexis made a change to Alexis's user profile. But you can see here, this user D Miller was inserted by Alexis Gearhart. So it will tell you who the affected person was, and it will tell you who did the change. So very good for audit control. Next, we're going to look at the user summary report. So what it provides is it shows a list of users that meet a certain criteria as defined by the filters. So one of my best examples in the university setting was, who can drive a 12 or 15 passenger van, who has the training and so forth. So this can be found and the criteria can be sorted by user status, access groups, sites, permissions, and usage types. So this would be something that if you need to know how many people have a certain type of training or how many people have access to a certain type of vehicles, you can really quickly find that information. So with that, the input that you're going to put in, again, you're going to go to reports, users, user summary report, and then you're going to go ahead and put in the dates and the statuses and the different information that you want. If there's just a certain access group that you want, like only the people with 15 passenger van training, then you would unclick the others and just put 15 passenger van training. So go ahead and you can choose whatever input you would like. And again, go ahead and choose an output. And your output is going to look similar to this. So this tells us the user's name, phone number, email, preference, if they're enabled, their department, any comments and so forth that they might have. Now remember, this is also a good lesson here. So this is a test site that I'm using, right? But what you need to do is see where there's blanks. Just remember, it's good to make sure that your data is good and you have integrity with your data. So make sure your users are filling in all their information, right? So if they aren't filling in their department and so forth, you might want to go back and make sure that they're filling that in. All right, user details report. So this one shows the details from the user's profile that meet the criteria defined. And this can be based on user status, access groups, or sites. So on the input, again, you're going to put in whatever criteria it is that you're looking for. And then you will get your output. And this one, I apologize, this one is a little hard to read and so forth, but this one tells like the last 10 reservations that this person had, the access groups that the driver has and so forth, and tells you all the information about the driver. So it does give you a good bit of detail about the actual user and how many reservations they've had and so forth and what activity they have. User System Activity Report. This report will show if modifications were made by users to user profiles, vehicle profiles, and reservations. So on this one, you would go to Reports, Users, and User System Activity. So this is going to help you find out exactly what all has gone on. So this is telling us for the time period that we put in that these changes were made in the user table and who it was made by and who it was made for. These changes were made on the asset table during that time, and these were the reservation table changes that were made. So maybe somebody changed the time for a pickup of a reservation. Maybe they changed a vehicle that was assigned to a reservation and so forth. So all of these are different changes. So it could be that a user or driver was changed on a reservation. So all kinds of good output there. Next, we have the reservation details report. Now this one, when you see those word details, that's exactly what it gives you, right? So this report shows you the details of the reservation that meet certain criteria, and this gives you so much information. I know some people like to write, scripts or whatever to get certain information, but you have to have, open APIs and so forth for that. Really, the information you need are in these reports. We just need to make sure you thoroughly understand, where they are and where you can find that information. So someone had told me, well, I need to know all the trips that went to this certain location during this time frame. Okay, that's not a problem. You put the time frame in and so forth. The location is on there. That is one of the things that it gives you, and you can do a sort. So there are lots of different things that you can do with this report. Again, on the input, you're going to decide what input you want to choose. Do you want all usage types or just a daily usage type? Do you want all departments, or is a department asking you just for a copy of their trips and so forth? So lots of different stuff that you can narrow it down. And then the output. So this gives you a good detailed explanation. This particular client can divide their account numbers up multiple ways, so that's why there's a lot of extra account number fields there. But with that, you got a lot of good information. When is it scheduled for and so forth? Where are they going? What are they doing? Next is a reservation details extra report. And I know a lot of people use this one on a daily basis. So this breaks out the information found in the reservation detail report into more of a row and column format. So it makes it easier to sort on certain aspects of the output, and additional information is in here that may not have been provided in the reservation detail report. So we have that extra on there. So with the detail extra report, you have reports, reservation detail extra. You choose if what departments, what sites and so forth you want, or if you want to leave it set for all of them. Then this is your output, right? So the output goes across quite a few lines there. And so I divided it up. So this really is a continuation, but it tells us who the requester was, who the driver was, requester's email, driver username, driver email, usage type, site, location, asset name, type. I mean, it tells you all kinds of stuff. So anything and everything you need, there's a way to get it out. Next is the asset summary report. And I do like this report, and I will tell you a very unusual situation that I had to use this report for. So on this report, we had a department, the psychology department, that would go out and do different research and so forth. And with that, there were a couple clients that they could not drive a certain color of car to their site because the red car was a trigger for their client. So with that, it was very easy to, with the asset summary report, you can find out, how many vehicles you have by date, status, year, color, make, model, owner, type, and so forth. So that's an unusual way of that I used that report, but I needed to know what vehicles I had that were white that I could send to this location. So that's kind of an odd way, but an example. So input, again, a lot of it, dates, what sites do you want, what locations do you want, and then the output. You're going to get your status, your vehicle name, your make, model, license, VIN, the type of vehicle, your current mileage, current parking spot, how many people fit in the vehicle, the site, the location, and if there's any comments that are assigned to that particular asset in the system. Any questions on this one? All right, next, asset detail report. So this shows the details from the profiles of vehicles that meet the criteria, again, defined by these certain criteria. So date, status, year, color, make, model, asset, owner, user, type, maximum occupants, excuse me, can't talk today, site, location, and access groups. So again, you might need to know how many vehicles can hold 7 or more people in them. You'd be able to figure that out by the maximum occupants and so forth. So input, go to reports, assets, asset details, your output. And your output, has a lot of different information on the asset. So all the information around the asset, first mileage, last mileage, year, make, model, all that good stuff. And the last 10 reservations that asset has had. Okay, next we're going to go to the asset in and out report. So it shows the vehicles leaving, returning, and going into maintenance for the specified date range. So I do see Joe has a test there, and yes, I did see your comment, Joe, so thank you. And if anybody does have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the chat and we can talk about things. So this shows when the vehicles are leaving, returning, and going into maintenance for a specified date range. So with that, your input, you're going to go to reports, assets, asset in and out report, put in the dates that you are interested in, and your output you will have. So it tells you what's going out, when it's coming back, when it ends, and so forth. So perfect. All right. Next, we have our tag vehicle exception report. Does anybody use this one? I'm just curious. So for example, our tags and so forth, we did have a couple vehicles where we reused license plate numbers and so forth, but we tried to change the year as to the last 2 digits. So I can see where this would be helpful. So this one searches for 2 or more vehicles that have the same tag number or the same name in addition to tag exceptions. So some helpful hints on this one is different vehicles with the same tag number. That section shows vehicles that have duplicate tag numbers. The vehicles with different tag number info between managed vehicles and managed tags. This section shows tag exceptions. So those tag exceptions are a vehicle that has a license tag number and a profile, but it's different than the one given to them in the managed tags function. So this function is separately licensed, and you can reach out to technical support if you have anything or want some help with that feature. And then vehicles with the same asset name. So it shows vehicles that have duplicate vehicle names as well. So again, the input, you're going to do your site, your locations, your usage type, and then with that, you will get the output. So different vehicles with the same tag number. So you can see here, there's a couple vehicles here with a license plate number of 123456. Okay, so it's saying, okay, you have 4 vehicles here with all the same license number. How can that be? Okay, so those are types of things that you want to look into to make sure that you fix. Then vehicles with different tag number info between managing the vehicle and managing tags. And then the last one, vehicles with the same asset name. So you get those 3 different outputs there. Okay, next, if you have maintenance and fuel, there is a maintenance and fuel cost report, and it provides a compilation of all the maintenance and fuel costs with a cost per mile calculation. So this is a really important report, and you want to make sure that your information is accurate, right? So you get good information out when you have good information put in. So to get to this report, it's going to be reports, assets, and maintenance, and fuel cost. And with that, the output, again, there's a lot of lines, but it makes it so you can get a lot of good information. So it gives you a lot of the different lines, but when it comes down to it, you know, you have your total PM costs, your repair maintenance cost, labor cost, parts cost, if you have any sublets from other vendors, then the totals for those categories. If there's taxes, and then you're going to get to your total maintenance costs, your total fuel costs, and then you add those together and you get your total maintenance and fuel costs. You divide by the number of miles that it went and you're getting your cost per mile. So that's an important one to know. But remember, it's important to have all your costs in one system so you get accurate cost per miles. So what do we need to do to maintain that data integrity in FleetCommander? So housekeeping is a must, right? So use your FleetCommander reports to check your data, make sure it's looking good. Use the module reports to keep on top of any changes. And this just ensures that, you know, you're going to have good reports. You know, the old saying, good go, garbage in, garbage out. You want to make sure that we have good information going in, so we have good information going out. And with that, you know, other things that can affect data integrity is if you're improperly doing dispatch, right? So if you're not dispatching vehicles in and out, if you're canceling undispatched reservations, or if you're using reserved time versus actual time when you're checking in and out reservations. All of those things can affect your data integrity. So make sure you're checking things in at the proper time and checking them out at the proper time and making sure that everybody's trained the same way. So you do have good data. So what are some of those things that we learned today? So we've learned the importance of reports, getting to some actionable data and learning the difference between some of the core and module reports, how to move from raw data to actionable insights, you know, read your reports, study them, keep track of them, and then you can make better decisions. We heard some top tips from the FC support team on calls that they've been getting lately. We went over the FleetCommander reports part 3, and we talked about maintaining data integrity in FleetCommander. So, Walter, I'm going to read your question here. Handles our maintenance, but I don't seem to have option to generate a maintenance report. How do I get that option? Walter, will you send me an email and we will get you set up? Here is my email. We'll have to look at your site and we'll take a look at that, okay? Because it could be that you need a site permission or something. Thank you for asking that question. What are some other questions? Anybody have other questions? If so, feel free to put them in the chat. Also, here, I'll give you a question. So what is your favorite FC report? Okay, so everybody just put your favorite FleetCommander report in there. Work order billing, all right. So let's see, Q&A. Hold on just a second. Not all have Excel option, correct? Most of them do, Jim. It's pretty rare that they don't. Sorry, you had a question there in Q&A. I missed that one. Thank you, Joe, for finding that in the Q&A instead of the chat. Okay, so favorite FC report, detailed billing report. Thank you, detailed billing as well. End of day, so we can go home. I love that, John. That's the best. Asset data dump. Thank you, Alexandria. Okay, Susan from CCRC in California. This may have been discussed as previous calls, but can you get a report of users in the system? Yes, you can. And if someone left the company, do you recommend we disable them or delete them? So that's a great question. Um, we, I, I would go ahead and disable them in the beginning, especially just so you have good reports. You just want to make sure, like if you completely delete somebody, you want to make sure that everything flows to all the reports. So especially with, current data and stuff. So just for report integrity, I would disable. Plus, if they come back, I mean, we've had several times now, there is a way to undelete a user. But we've had several people in different instances where a user has come back to the fleet. And if so, it's very easy to just enable them again. But if you know for sure they're never coming back and so forth, and it's been a while, feel free to delete. User summary report is Carla's. Madison. How is Hawaii today, Madison? I hope it's good. So you might have missed this previously, but there's a report that shows the administrator dispatcher notes listed on each reservation. So the reservation details extra report. A lot of people run that every day for ones that are going out, and that should have notes in that notes section. You are welcome, Susan. Okay, so you can keep going with questions there, but I'm going to go through, I have a few more slides for you because we've got some exciting stuff here. So tools for your fleet toolbox. I know some of these screens you've seen before, but we're also changing some of these too. So remember, you have agilefleet.com for your online resources, fleet management blog. We have our workshop Wednesday, every third Wednesday. We also have our quarterly webinars. So I'm going to tell you about that one here in just a little bit. And then we also have the webinars that like Joe did last week that was for the new release. So previously we were running those during workshop Wednesday time, but we feel that workshop Wednesday is very important and we didn't want to take that time away from you. So that is why we did it at a separate time frame. But with that, workshop Wednesday for next month is going to be back to basics. So we are going to talk about the dashboard, dispatching, and quick find. So you won't want to miss it. Again, I highly encourage you, come with your machine signed on. It's okay to look at your data and go through some of these things and practice while we're on the call. So you're going to learn efficient, dashboard customization, learn how to configure your dashboard, understand what the various sections of your dashboard mean, dispatching do's and don'ts. Do you have a lot of reservations that are late returns and late pickups? You should not have that. So if so, why do you have that? And we need to clean that up for you so you can have good actionable data. And then exploring quick find. There's lots of fun things that you can do with quick find. So we're going to really dig into the dashboard so you can have a new appreciation of it and realize that everything you need to run your day is pretty much right there. And if you're the dispatch position. So our YouTube channel, Agile Fleet Commander, please subscribe to our channel. You can see what was missed and so forth. And one thing I see that was missed is a Y in you. So apologies for that. But anyway, you can go back to the different webinars and so forth that we've had. bonus webinar. So this quarter, we are going to do a bonus webinar, and this one is going to be the value of belonging to professional organizations. So oftentimes when Joe and I do business reviews and when I'm talking to my clients, I know a lot of people ask me, are there other organizations I should belong to, or is there a place I can go to meet other fleet managers that I can ask questions to and so forth. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through some of the different organizations that a lot of our clients um, participate in. If you decide you want to participate in them, great. If you don't, that's not a problem. We just want you to know what's out there and what value they bring and what kind of things you can learn and do. So like the top one, NASA, that's National Alliance of State and University Fleets. So that's strictly state and university fleets. NAFA Fleet Management is National Association of Fleet Administrators. That's more broad across all spectrums of fleets, and they have their CAFM certification program. Then you have American Public Transportation Association. So that is more in the transit area because we have lots of transit clients. Then we also have human services clients. So there's a lot of different organizations out there, and I'm just going to give you a high level what they have and why it might benefit you. And you can ask questions. A lot of people belong to these different organizations and so forth. But of course, the meeting you don't want to miss at all would be the Command 2024. So that is finally announced, and it is going to be in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I hope to see all of you there. And the sooner you sign up for your hotel room in the conference, the better off you are. But it's going to be held Tuesday, October 1st through Thursday, October 3rd. And we'll feature what you've always loved about the conference. So plenty of opportunities to network and to learn from your peers. To find out more information, you can scan the QR code there and learn more and go ahead and get registered. And if you have any questions about it, please feel free to reach out to myself or Joe, and we're happy to answer any questions. Next, share your accomplishments. I talk about this, each month and stuff, but I know there's people around this call that have done amazing things. And I've heard from some of you on those amazing things you've done. Some of them have been able to finally hire more staff because they learned the reporting section and really how to find out their information. Others have been able to prove value to their higher ups as to why they need a kiosk and so forth. So there's lots of good things. Let us help you tell your story. It's not bragging, it's helping others. So if you can explain how you did something and can help somebody else so they can do the same thing to improve themselves, that's being a good partner, being a good neighbor, right? So it's not about bragging, it's about helping each other in this world. Your Agile Fleet team, so contact Agile Support if you need any assistance right away. fcsupport@agilefleet.com is manned 7 a.m. to 7. They answer most every call and have a result within a half an hour. They're just truly awesome. And then you also have a client success. You can call Joe or call myself, and my email is there as well. And here you go. I need you to let us know how we're doing. Hopefully, get out your camera, scan the QR code with your smartphone. Hopefully you can refer Agile Fleet as a 9 or a 10 to a client or friend. We want to make sure that we are your provider of choice. If for some reason you can't do that, please let us know why, because we aim and strive to be better for you. So if you can please provide feedback, we would greatly appreciate it. You can go ahead and score us by clicking the smartphone and get that QR code. And then it also has spots that you can provide feedback and so forth as to how we can make Workshop Wednesday better and how we can make other things better, because that's what we need to know, right? We need to know how we can get better every day, because the day we quit learning is the day we die. And we don't want that to happen. So, any additional questions in the chat? It's very unusual that I get done 15 minutes early. You're all probably saying, yes, I have some time back. Any questions that I can answer that you can type in there? Okay. Well, I am not seeing any. So thank you all for joining. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you next month. And if anybody's going to be at NAFA this coming week, I will be there. Please stop by our booth. Would love to say hi to you, and hope to see some of you there. If not, have an amazing day. Thank you.